Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome everybody into Mafia Bets on the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. This is a Bills Mafia-based sports betting show where we will talk about the Bills matchup from last week and this week, give you the ins and the outs, the whys, the why nots for this week's betting lines and the matchups. We'll also give you the hammer bet of the week and the overreaction bet of the week, which is the bet you want to stay away from. We're going to give you all the ins and outs as Dan is going to tell us exactly where we should be and where we shouldn't be inside of our bets. My name is Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired alongside my co-host, Dan Frederick, our professional sports bettor. You can find him on Twitter at Buffalo Freddy. Please do us a favor. Please like, please subscribe, whatever platform you are consuming this presentation on. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And if you have the option to, hit the notification button as well. It is so good to have every single one of you joining us. Dan, my friend, how are you?
We're doing wonderful. Every single week, we're doing excellent, really. And look at this weather. Holy cow. Tomorrow's game's going to be amazing. Spend a lot of time with family, and Bills are 4-0. We're great.
This whole weekend is insane. Like, I was in the water in Lake Erie today, floating in an inner tube.
I regret closing my pool. Like, we closed it the 20th of September, and I could have got another month out of it.
Right. It's nuts. And it's going to be nice tomorrow and Monday, right? So Sunday and Monday. That's like there should have been a bet before the season started for the Arctic rivalry jerseys that the Bills were wearing. Like what are the chances it's going to be 80 degrees versus 30 degrees? Because we're wearing these frosted jerseys and it's going to be 80.
Not. This is my whiteout jersey right here. Listen, I'm a fat guy. This is the lightest thing that I have. Everyone's giving me crap because I keep saying I'm not going to wear white. I don't own a white shirt besides like a tuxedo shirt.
You don't have the white jersey? Any white Bills jerseys?
One. I probably own 40 Bills jerseys. I don't have a single white one. I am a fat guy. Fat guys don't wear white shirts.
I have one white Josh Allen jersey. I think is the only white jersey that I have as far as that goes. But I do have a rain jacket that's a really nice rain jacket. Bill's like pullover rain jacket, but it's be too warm for that. Again, it's not going to rain, which is even funnier. So, but excited to have you. Excited to talk about just what's going to be happening this week. But as always, we want to start with how last week went, specifically starting with the Bills game, the Buffalo Bills. That game was interesting, as all Bills games are. We backed into 30 points again as the Bills score 31 points, almost walk into it. But James Cook, I think we both thought the same thing, like, Cook out of this game, Allen out of this game, like Shakir Coleman out of this game, Kincaid out of this game, like by third quarter. And meanwhile, they're all playing right into the last series.
I almost think that we've overthought what the Bills are going to do, and we're looking too deep into everything. Last week, I was so sure that like Josh and Cook would be out of the game late because I thought we'd be up a little bit more than we were.
Me too.
At what point do they start to limit James Cook's carries? I don't know. They haven't yet. I'll believe it when I see it at this point. So they're playing almost a boring offensive game that's really working really well. Maybe that's great for the long run, and that's what wins games in the playoffs. It's not great for betting, though. There's not many outliers. There's not a lot happening that you can make money off of in this Bills game. Besides, really, it's just been James Cook. And there's not a line that says the Bills can bet 30 points that you're going to make any money off of, because that you're not getting great odds off that.
Right.
Every game they score 30 points, but they're doing it in ways that are really unpredictable besides James Cook.
Yeah, for sure. And welcome to everybody that's joining us live. This is our first live broadcast on YouTube, which is exciting.
Live, yep.
So this has been how has this transition gone for you, Dan? Going from never having done kind of like this camera podcast, crazy YouTube content creation stuff in this format. How's this gone for you? Are you enjoying it?
Oh, I love this. I've always talked a lot. I think everyone knows that, but I all the different screens, all the options, the comments, you here talking, trying to lead into notes. It's an ADHD trigger for sure, but there's been a lot of talking points I've wrote down we've missed over the shows.
I'm sure it's hard to stay on track for me. With post-game shows, it's usually about an outline, and I try to hit the stuff in the outline, and I try to come back to it. But that can be tough. And when you've got two ADD people in both of us, squirrel happens a lot. So it's just kind of one of those things. So real quick, why don't you take us through, if you've got it, what happened last week? Are you prepared to show us what happened last week as far as the bets that we had?
Yeah. So let's take a look at our FanDuel account overall. We'll notice that last week, I think we had 103 units remaining. I've again, I've bet the 100 units that we have,
Mhm.
and you'll see some of the things right here. But we had our first losing week last week,
Oh,
which
dum dum
we
dum.
lost like 24 units, 25 units last week.
Right.
Um, not great, is what it is. You're not going to win every single week. We actually started out on absolute fire. I
Mm.
can't pick anything right in the Bills game at this point. Which I put the least amount of units on the Bills, and of course we talk about the Bills because it's we're in Buffalo and whatnot. But I don't like betting on these Bills games with how just they've
It's
been
hard.
middle of the road.
It's hard to figure out what they're doing and what they're going to do. I mean, it's funny because they didn't press the defense against the Dolphins, or they didn't press the Dolphins defense at all in that football game, and then they kind of pressed the defense in the Saints game, but still lived in that dink and dunk kind of place and like ran the snot out of James Cook. James Cook is the offense.
Josh hasn't thrown a pick in I don't know.
You're right.
Half a year of games.
Right.
So we have Spencer Rattler there, who's a gunslinger. We take Spencer Rattler to throw an interception. We take Josh to not throw a reception. The one ball he throws down the field, really down the field, gets picked.
Right.
And Rattler doesn't get one. So the combination of those Bills bets with other little things, because they were both minus 180, because they were heavily favored for Rattler to get a pick.
Right.
Heavily favored for Josh Allen to not throw a pick based on what's happened. Neither of them happened, and that killed a lot of things that we had going on.
Yeah, it feels like picking the over is the smart thing to do with the Bills right now in this kind of current state that they're in, but not picking them to cover.
No, they're not covering much at all, really. I mean, obviously they whooped the Jets, but you can pick team totals, and one of the best bets, the absolute best bet in sports for the last year or so, especially football, has been taking first half unders of games. Because these teams have these long, drawn-out drives left and right.
Right.
We talked about this last week about how the second half of games, a lot of crazy stuff happens from 2-point conversions. Teams have to go forward and fourth down and whatnot. But the unders of first halves, especially under 24.5, has been hitting so often. Personally, it's something I've made very good money off of this year.
Yeah.
You don't always get very great odds on it depending on the team. And I could show you one where it's terrible. I was looking going into this week to pick this game right here, which is just no offense whatsoever.
Vikings and Browns. Yep.
Yeah, Vikings and Browns. But if you go to this game's first half under, it's at 16 points.
Oh my gosh.
So and net minus 24.5, which is a number I really like. You're not even making. You have to bet $500 to win 100. It's just not worth it. Units.
Right. 500 units. Yep.
So,
which, by the way, I didn't get into any of that. I will before we lead into the Bills game as far as for this week. What's funny about that's something I've always noticed, but I've been paying a lot of attention to, ironically, this year. First half of football games, it's like there's 5 drives. Each team, one team gets 2 drives, one team gets 3 drives. And in the second half of games, each team gets 8 drives. It's why does that change?
I really think that their coaching staff, the guys up in the upstairs, they're really taking that halftime to reassess the game plan. They're picking things apart. And then the offenses are starting to, all the motions and all the things that they had set up, they're now putting in place, and they're working. They're getting a lot more yards and whatnot. But yeah, you get 9-minute drives left and right in the first half, and it doesn't lead to a lot of points often. Not always, but often.
Right. So definitely stay away from the full games with the fourth quarter witching hours, as they like to say on the Red Zone Network. But as we lead into this week's football game, the Buffalo Bills against hosting the New England Patriots on Sunday Night Football. We get to wait all day Sunday for that game. Just real quick, as we kind of talk about it every single week, we bet here in units. We don't bet in dollars. And we recommend that you do the same thing as far as when you're setting this up. If you're learning how to do it, and this is again for entertainment purposes, a unit can be whatever you need it to be: a penny, a nickel, a quarter, whatever. It could be $1. For us, it could be $1. If you're very wealthy, it could be more than that. But Dan is going to break this down in units. We bet 100 units a week is effectively what we bet, and that's all we bet. And always going back to what Dan says, you don't have to bet. So there might be weeks that we don't bet all 100 units just because, and Dan's going to talk about in a second, as the bye weeks continue to progress, there just might not be good stuff out there. So looking at the Bills game this week, Dan.
We're going to talk about the couple things that we like and we did bet on. We're also I'm going to explain to our listeners what a teaser is. Because that's something that I took with the Bills. Not really necessarily part of our Bills player bets, but a bet that I really liked this week was a teaser that involved the Bills. I don't think this number, I would never touch it. Minus 8.5 versus a divisional opponent. And these night games, like the underdogs have just been playing. Every game's been super close or shocking. I mean, we got crushed last week on Green Bay and the Ravens.
Right.
But Green Bay, who thought Green Bay was, 40-40 tie?
Right. 80 points in that game. Crazy
amount. But
at this point, you've talked about the Cowboys before. I mean, at this point, you're picking any offense playing the Cowboys. Their defense
we will
is horrible.
definitely later in the show. But 8.5 points for a divisional game in primetime is something I would not bet. If I was picking one of these two, I would take the Patriots. But a teaser bet is a bet where you pick 2 teams, 3 teams, 4 teams, 5 teams, whatever, and you get a substantial amount of points on the lines that you're betting for all of them. Specifically, most of the time you're getting 6 points.
Right.
So for here on the Bills, when you take them in a teaser with another bet, you get them for minus 2.5, which is a very good number. You want to, 3s and 4s are very popular for scores. So that rhymed. So minus 2.5 is very good because 3 points is a common score to win by. So in our bets for the week, I took a teaser on the Bills with another line that I really like. I took the Bills minus 2.5 in basically a pick 'em with the Colts. I think the Colts win the game versus the Raiders, but I don't know if the Colts were going to cover their 6.5 point spread. But with this teaser bet, we get 6 points on both lines that we like. Still not the greatest odds. You don't. It's like they give you those 6 points and it equates to basically taking one bet.
Right.
But we end up getting the Colts on a pick 'em and then the Bills minus 2.5. So what we need the Bills to win by a field goal or more to win that bet.
Interesting. Nice. Very good. I like it. So back to the Bills
teasers.
Game.
Yeah, you can do teasers a couple other ways. You can get them for more points and worse odds. But yeah, back to the Bills games.
Yeah.
I think that our third down defense is frightening. It scares me for the chance to win the Super Bowl. I don't like how we keep giving quarterbacks lanes up the middle. I don't even know what we're doing that is causing that because we're not exactly running like a soft shell zone anymore like we used to. We're running a lot of man-to-man. Quarterbacks are getting a lot of third down conversions off their legs.
Yeah.
And a lot of third down conversions through the air. Just all the third down conversions. Drake May happens to be one of the best in the league at third down conversions.
Yes.
He also can run the ball.
So
we're going to take Drake May's rushing for the game for sure. So I took Drake May to go over 25 rushing yards. That's one of the bets that we took this week. And then I took I'm not going to make the mistake again of not taking James Cook. All right, we're just taking that one forever.
You're taking it until you don't take it anymore, right?
Yeah, I mean, until he proves me wrong,
right.
or until he just does something completely different, or the Bills decide they're going to have a different game plan. They've done the same thing every week beyond the end of the Ravens game, where they absolutely had to throw the ball because their defense was doing nothing.
Gotcha.
They had to throw the ball in that game. Besides that, James Cook has just consistently been a big part of our offense, especially running the ball. So we have James Cook at over 97.5 rushing yards. It's a high number, but he's actually gone way over it every week.
Yes.
So if he's done it 4 weeks in a row, we're going to give it a whirl this week as well. And then the last thing we took was Hunter Henry over 40.5 yards, who's probably the second Drake May's second favorite target behind Diggs. And I wasn't touching Diggs. I know we haven't really talked about him at all, but week 1, we weren't sure what we were going to do that week with it being kind of like a revenge game for Mark Andrews.
Right.
Would the Bills double cover him knowing that was going to happen? Or were they going to force feed him the ball? It's the same thing here. I don't know what they're going to do with Diggs. Are they going to force feed him the ball for the revenge? He's coming back to Buffalo, or are the Bills going to double, triple cover and make sure that doesn't happen no matter what? I have no idea, so I'm not touching it.
I feel like they are absolutely going to try to give Diggs his day in Buffalo in the stadium. There's going to be a lot of forcing, and the question is can he get separation? More than likely, can he catch the ball? More than likely, he is a little bit slower. He's not fully healed yet. He had a big week last week, but I would agree with you. That's probably a line I would stay away from. So for the Bills,
it's low. It's 48.5 yards. I think that's low for a number one receiver against the Bills defense.
You're probably right, but his first 3 weeks of the season he didn't do well, and then last week he blew up. But he blew up on a couple catches. It was like he had a couple long balls that he caught, or a couple long passes that he caught. But for this Bills game, you've got Drake May over 25 rushing yards, James Cook over 95.5 rushing and receiving yards, so total yards, and then Hunter Henry 40.5. Now transitioning into the rest of the games for this week, the underreaction bet of the week is the game or the player, the situation that people overreact to. I said underreaction, overreaction. Sorry about that. The one that everybody's jumping on that Dan stays away from. So Dan is not buying the hype of where everybody's focus is. So that the overreaction stay away from player is.
I don't ever just say the name right away. I gotta.
Oh, sorry. How do I? So why don't you give us your thoughts on the overreaction?
We have a game that has nobody's at quarterback or a backup quarterback and a rookie. We have a player I've made good profit off of early in the season because he came out of the gate thinking he was going to be a number 2 running back. Jordan Mason has done pretty well to start the season. He's done great for me in fantasy football as well, but he's playing the Browns defense at home. And the Browns defense has crushed our wallets. They beat Green Bay. They're holding running backs to nothing. And he's got very high lines. He's got terrible odds for anytime touchdown. I'm staying away from Jordan Mason. And that game's just, I would have loved to hit some unders on it. A backup Carson Wentz versus Dylan Gabriel's first ever game for the Browns. I mean, the Browns were in like 13-10 games all year. Vegas is really catching up on their margins of error are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. By this time every year, when you introduce bye weeks, and then when the Vegas starts to know how these games are really going to go, I mean, these people make a lot of money to set the lines. They know what they're doing. First couple of weeks, good opportunity to make money. It's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. I loved trying to find the under in that game anywhere, and I'm not laying 5-1 odds just to try to get a number I like. So
yeah, for sure.
I didn't touch that, but I'm staying away from Jordan Mason.
So stay away from Jordan Mason versus Cleveland defense at home. The overreaction bet of the week, stay away from it. The underreaction bet is the one that nobody's focused on that Dan likes. Dan, what you got?
Our boy Kaiir Elam. But he's just part of it a little bit. We'll talk a little bit more about him later. Cowboys defense just they don't have Micah Parsons. They don't really have a cornerback that matters at this point.
It's amazing.
The Jets have a line of 22.5 for their personal team total. So not for their points that they score for the entire game. 22.5. They would have hit that basically every game, -1 with turnovers. They really started moving the ball in the second half of the game against Miami, but they just made every single dumb play imaginable.
Right.
Turnover. Yeah. But they 22.5 points versus, you could give me probably any team in the NFL versus the Cowboys defense for that, and I would take it. The Jets are they're not a sexy team name for offense, that's for sure. I had to dig deep to find something I really liked this week, and then I saw that versus the Cowboys. That's what I'm going to put a decent amount of units on this week.
Gotcha. Awesome. So the underreaction bet of the week is the Jets over points of 22.5 versus the Cowboys. The hammer bet, and the hammer bet is that bet that you need to put into every single parlay you're going to run. The hammer bet this week.
Trey McBride, 59.5 yards. He would have hit that almost every single game this year.
My tight end in every league I'm in, every fantasy league I have, I drafted Trey McBride.
Yeah, I have him I'm in 3 leagues. I have him in 2 or 3. I don't have him in the one we're in.
In the one we're in, yeah. Keeper. No, he was not a keeper for me. I drafted him. That's right. My bad. Yeah.
So 59.5 yards playing the Titans. That's basically enough said for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I took that. I always fear volume. We talked about this last week. Volume betting matters, right? When there's so much volume on a number, I don't know, things just magically happen. Vegas makes that phone call in and it doesn't work out. Every pro has money on McBride this week. All of them. And that was the first thing I noticed before I started looking to see what the professionals were putting money on. I'm sticking to it.
What's interesting about this game, I had a good conversation with Griff, who's a Patriots fan, has me on every time the Bills play the Patriots. I've been going on a show for like 5 years now. And we go through all the games of the week. And this is that game that is almost unwatchable. Like when you think about the Titans and the Cardinals, I made the joke that in March we're all like, I'll take football, any football, give me any football, and it's like, oh yeah, bet, like watch this game because this is a game that is not. There's not going to be much
Hall of Fame game preseason,
right?
Everyone's watching it. I'm like, I can't watch this. Yeah,
right. The only thing here worth paying attention to is Trey McBride in this football game. The only thing.
There were a couple other reasons for this as well. Who's going to run the ball?
Right.
You would think versus the Titans, the team's going to want to just run down their throat and just grind out a win versus a bad football team, get a W on the board, 1 of 17 weeks. Well, they're missing their top 2 running backs in this game versus a terrible football team. They kind of have to start dumping the ball off here and there just to move the ball. It's going to be like that West Coast, like offensive, like 6-8 yards where they have to dump it off just to run the ball. Yep. So I like that. I also like taking a look at his receptions number for the game. He could get a lot of catches this week.
Yeah, more than likely. Yeah, he's probably plus five plus somewhere on there would be my guess.
5.5.
5, yeah. So
he gets 6 receptions, you would win the bet.
Yeah, no, I was saying I expect him to get more than 5. So is the line actually 5.5? Is that what the line is?
It was earlier today when I made all the picks. Yeah.
Gotcha. Interesting though. So that was a good guess. And then the other bets that Dan likes for the weekend.
I'll show everything that we picked for the week. I took less this week than I had because we started, I think 7-0 last week.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last half of it, that Green Bay game and the Ravens just crushed our week. I put a lot more money on like teams than I normally do. I normally try to combine a couple player bets to get really big like payouts.
Right.
But last week I was convinced, I still am convinced that the Green Bay is going to win that game. I don't know what happened there versus Dallas, but I took what I thought were easy bets and I put a lot of units on them instead of trying to manipulate the odds to create larger payouts with the Ravens in Green Bay. And it did not work because I did that. I bet like 20 units on each of them overall. We lost for the week because the 2 things I liked the most did not win.
Right. Yeah. You want a couple sure things and they didn't cash for you.
Yeah. They weren't sure, but yeah.
Well, what you thought were sure things. Yeah,
I did.
Which you've been pretty clean as far as coming into that week. So I would say that you're allowed to those weeks are going to come. You're not going to win every week.
If you hit 60% of your like can't miss bets, you're going to have a winning year. And I think we're at
we're doing good.
I think we're at like 80%, 75%, 80%. But
yep.
We're for our last one. That's for sure.
Yep.
Travis Etienne. He's, I think 3 out of 4 weeks, besides a blowout, he's gone over 14.5 rushes. I'm going to show something else quick, specifically for
carries or carries or yards.
Oh, sorry. The amount of carries that he gets.
Gotcha. 14.5 carries. Okay.
Here, they're playing the Chiefs this week.
Mm-hmm.
And I found this to be very interesting. Every single week this year, the opponent versus the Chiefs has got more and more and more rushing yards against them leading up until last week. Travis Etienne's one of the leading rushers in the league.
Right.
And he's playing them this week. He had 17 rushes, 22 rushes. And
right.
He's at 14.5. I still don't think KC's that great at moving the ball. Generally, there's going to be a lot of running in a game versus Kansas City. So 14.5 rushes there.
Yeah, and a big part of that reason is because opposing defenses or opposing teams want to keep Kansas City's offense as kind of off the field. As bad as not bad as they are, but it's not as great as they used to be. We still want to keep Pat Mahomes off the field.
Yes. I want to keep Andy Reid off the field, his offensive mind more, to be honest.
100%.
I think it's a lot more him. Garrett Wilson, Kyrie Elam. We're 4 for 4. I couldn't bet some of the guys who are on bye weeks. Our favorite Bijan Robinson, Rome Odunze, they're on byes this week.
Right.
But thankfully, Kyrie Elam and the Dallas defense is playing the Jets. And I think it's just a sneaky play that many in the public aren't going to be on. Garrett Wilson over 64.5. I did take him for a couple higher, little ladders here and there.
Is that total yards or just receiving yards?
Just receiving.
Receiving
generally with a wide receiver, they're not going to give you, unless it's somebody who has specifically gotten like reverses or handoffs.
Gotcha.
It's generally just receiving yards.
So like Elijah Moore.
Yeah. can't find lines on a player like that these
But
days.
I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, a guy
Yep.
like Elijah Moore that gets like at least 1 or 2 handoffs a game. Yep.
Yeah. So receiving 64.5 for Garrett Wilson. I really like that bet. Dallas just gives up an insane amount of yards through the air.
Yes.
Consistently every single week.
Yes.
And we showed earlier when I was explaining a teaser, I don't like the lines for either of these teams straight up. That's a lot of points to cover, but I do think the Bills win this game this week. I mean, I have to, right? It's the Buffalo Bills versus the Patriots. I have faith in Josh to win a game like that.
Right.
So I think they can win by field goal, which is what we got after that tease. And the Colts should absolutely win versus the Raiders, since considering what we've seen so far this year. The Colts are just running down people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's you got to wonder when that train is going to stop as far as that goes. I feel like that can't last forever.
Yeah, I mean, they look at that division.
Yeah,
that's got a lot to do with it. They're not playing the top tier of the league, but I believe it was the Rams 2 weeks ago. That game was real tight down to the end until a deep pass late in the game that they ended up losing to. But yeah,
got a question from RJ. What do you think about Coleman over 41.5 receiving yards?
I think that any singular Bills receiver could go over that, and almost all of them have in a game.
Mm-hmm.
How do we pick which one?
Which one, right? Kincaid.
Every week. Kincaid last week had one catch towards the end of the game. Right. I had him everywhere for just to be over like 32 yards. He gets one catch for 28 yards when
and a touchdown.
That game screamed Kincaid.
Right.
They had because the Bills are just, if it's not broke, they're not fixing it. They haven't had to do much besides the end of that Ravens game, but just run the ball down people's throat. That offensive line is just mauling people, they're moving bodies.
Yep.
And they haven't even had to bring in any of the other running backs. It's just been Josh completion, a little bit here and there, whatever he's had to do, and James has just been running the ball.
Yep.
And that's not how it went last year. He had big games, but he wasn't consistently at that like 110 yards every game like RB1s are.
Right.
He would explode when a matchup was good, or Josh would have an outlier game. You'd have Mac Hollins, who's in this game. I think he's going to get some big cheers. Mac Hollins would go for 70 yards and a touchdown out of nowhere. It's Mac Hollins. That's not happening so far this year.
Yeah, Matt, yeah.
Do I think a Bills receiver can go for 40, 50, 60 yards, especially whoever's not being guarded by Christian Gonzalez? Absolutely. But who?
Yeah, which one?
You're just flipping a coin on which one it is at this point, because there's nobody consistent. I'd say if there's any one I would put money on consistently, it'd be Shakir.
Yep.
Shakir, because he keeps getting those screens and he's breaking them all the time.
Beef tallow, as John Fina likes to say. So avoid Buffalo Bills wide receivers is effectively the note there from Dan. So, and I would agree. Dan, great job. I'm going to get us out of here if that's all right with you.
Excellent.
We got 132 people on live with us, which is really, really cool. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and there's going to be more of these this year, so tell a friend. So if you've got a friend or a group of friends that you like to text, like screenshots of what your bets were back and forth, let them know about this show. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into Mafia Bets on the Overreaction Sports Network as Dan is scrolling through all of our bets for the week. Anything here you want to highlight before I get us out?
I really like that Jets play. Jets Garrett Wilson, and assuming that if Garrett Wilson goes off, that Jets play is going to hit for sure. So you could lose both those as well. I would love to see Travis Etienne go off against the team we hate in the Chiefs, but the very first thing I put in this week was this teaser, because I think this is the most sure thing, but it doesn't get the greatest odds. It's the biggest bet that I put in this week was that teaser.
15 units. Awesome. Well, so good to have you guys join us. Dan, great job as always. Enjoy all the football action tomorrow. Is there a 9 a.m. game or a 10 a.m. game tomorrow? Is there an early game?
I do not believe so.
There's not. Okay.
There's a lot of them coming up though.
Gotcha. Well, enjoy all the games. Enjoy the Bills game tomorrow. Hopefully the Buffalo Bills push and end up at 5-0, and we get to celebrate Victory Monday. But for me, for John, for Jerry, for Dan, for Ann, for all of us here at Overreaction, appreciate you guys. Love you. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.